I was watching college football final, with the guys we love, Joey Galloway, Jesse Palmer. I say that sarcastically. But watching college football final, they said, what do you think about the Heisman candidates that are out there now? Joey Galloway said he's picking Kyle Trask because currently 2,810 yards passing, 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jesse Palmer saying that he's taking Mac Jones because 2,728 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. When asked about Justin Fields, they both said, well, we don't believe that Justin Fields is going to have enough games now that 2 games have been canceled of the 8. So he's only going to play 6 games. He's not going to have enough games played. And Wisconsin was one of those games that he's not going to play, which was one of the games that everybody was looking forward to. So their key point was he's not going to have his Heisman moment game against the big dogs of the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And then they moved on to the next subject. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Where is Trevor Lawrence in this conversation? You talked about 3 other guys, and you didn't even mention Trevor Lawrence. Now, I know he hasn't played in a few weeks, and it's not really been his fault. He hasn't really played in 3 weeks. It's not really been his fault. But I will say that it's unfair to not include him in the Heisman discussion, especially after the game he had against Pittsburgh and the game we know he would have had against Florida State. Come on, let's be honest. And the game he probably would have had against Notre Dame. Now, that's my question to you guys. I'm going to throw it to you. Trevor Lawrence, 2,236 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And when he gets out there, he looks like he's just in the rhythm, even though he's been off almost a month. He still gets right back into a rhythm, hitting dimes to Cornell Powell, hitting dimes to Amari Rodgers. So my question is to you. Is Trevor Lawrence out of the running, and is it because he didn't play against Notre Dame? Did he miss his big game? Because his only big game was Miami 8 weeks ago. So everybody's forgotten about that. You know how Heisman voters are. They forget about what you've done.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Look, he's going to get his chance. He's going to play Notre Dame in the ACC championship, so he'll get to show his stuff there. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's that much of an issue. You look, I mean, they understand that these games, he had nothing to do with the fact that he was out. I mean, it's COVID related, and then the games got canceled. It is what it is there. They got to take a lot of things into account, and I understand that. I mean, Kyle Trask has had an outstanding year. I mean, goodness gracious. Morgan, if you had Kyle Pitts to throw to, I mean, you'd have those kind of stats. This guy's insane. He's a freak of nature. He can get open on anybody. It's insane the amount of catches he has. I think he's the best player on Florida's team, and I think it's a similar situation with Mac Jones. He's got better players as receivers on his team. Devontae Smith, these guys are better. How can you be the Heisman winner if you're not even the best player on your team? And Kyle Trask, I guess you can make an argument for him. Mac Jones is easier to see that, he's not the best player on the team. But still, you've got these things working against you, and Trevor Lawrence does not have that alpha receiver that he's used to having this year. If you want to say we have an alpha receiver, it's Cornell Powell. We've all been bragging on Cornell Powell and how good he's done. Look, Amari Rodgers is a good guy too. But these guys aren't the 6'4", 215 type guys that just can go over anybody and catch a ball. We haven't had that this year. We've talked about it several times on this show. The receiving core for Alabama is definitely better. The offensive line is better, so Mac Jones has more to work with there. There's a lot of things I think they got to take into consideration, and there are a lot of arguments that can be made for and against Trevor Lawrence. So I would certainly say Trevor Lawrence isn't out of it by any means. But Kyle Trask, I mean, he's done a great job, and you can't really fault him for being the front runner right now. I mean, he's done absolutely everything he could and more this year.
So 2 things that I'm going to say that I think will benefit Trevor Lawrence. Actually, 3 things. One, Kyle Trask and Mac Jones are going to play each other. And if one of those 2 turns out to have a bad game, maybe Mac Jones has his one bad game, Florida gets a hold of him, he throws 2 or 3 interceptions, that could spell the end of his Heisman run. Same with Kyle Trask. Look, he's already got a loss on his resume, and what the Heisman Trophy has kind of devolved into is, are you playing the best ball for the best team in the country? And so Kyle Trask might put up 1,000,000 yards, but if he throws 2 or 3 picks, he could be very well out of the race as well. The other thing that benefits Trevor is he gets to play Notre Dame again. He wasn't in there. If he vindicates that Notre Dame loss and goes out and throws for 1 billion yards and 4 touchdowns, he moves automatically back up to the front of the line, I feel like, especially if he plays well that game. The third thing that I don't think anybody's talking about is the Heisman Trophy this year is presented after the first round of the playoffs. So there's going to be a lot of things happen that I don't think anybody's really thinking about now. Could be that Kyle Trask has a bad game or a good game, makes it to the playoffs and has another bad game, and ends up, falling out of the race. Could be that Trevor Lawrence goes off, beats the brakes off of Notre Dame, and then whoever they play in the first round of the playoffs, whether it be Florida, Alabama, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, whoever it is, and he goes off again, that might cement him with a Heisman Trophy.
And it's kind of weird to me to feel like that this guy is going to lose, let's just say, could possibly lose the Heisman Trophy in a year where he'll be the number one draft pick in the NFL and lose it to two guys that may not be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. Very, very weird to me that could happen. Why would all these NFL guys say, this is the guy we want, but then not take him? And here's another thing. They talk about stats. It's just like the Lamar Jackson syndrome, okay? These guys had great stats, have great stats right now. Trevor Lawrence has been doing this for 3 years. He's been putting up big numbers. Oh, by the way, did you forget he won a national championship as a freshman? He came back and went to the national championship game last year, and he's got a very good chance of going to the national championship game again this year. But winning doesn't matter. We know that you can lose 4 games and still get the Heisman Trophy. We saw that, or 3 games with Lamar Jackson. I'm still chapped about that one. I don't think that that's very fair either. You got to be able to lead your team to the championship game as the general. If you're the quarterback, neither one of these guys have done that. Neither one of these guys have a ring on their finger as a starting quarterback for their team.
I'd also like to jump in that the opposite of Lamar Jackson is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was well behind Tua Tagovailoa for the entire season until week 13. The SEC championship game, Tua does not play well. I think he gets hurt. Jalen Hurts has to come in, and all of a sudden, a week later, because of one good game, Kyler Murray is the Heisman Trophy winner. And I think Clemson could be in that scenario. Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, they lead for the entire year, but if they both beat up on each other, and Trevor Lawrence has 2 outstanding games in a row, that's the recipe for success.
Give us that year. If you look at stats alone, there's plenty of players that are better than Kyle Trask, even though he's doing great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Malik Willis, I know he plays for Liberty. I get it. But he's got way more fantasy stats than Kyle Trask. Zach Wilson, BYU, I get it. But Dylan Gabriel and Sam Ehlinger all have better fantasy points, higher fantasy point totals right now in the year than Kyle Trask. So if you go by stats alone, I mean, and we already know from the Lamar Jackson syndrome that don't necessarily have to be winning games. So I don't know. That's my argument there is look at the whole body of work. Oh, by the way, who was one of the main players in front of everybody saying, hey, we want to play football this year? I mean, it was Trevor Lawrence. So
yeah.
Not only that, he's shown he's a leader on the field, off the field. He gets unfazed. He overcomes COVID, comes out here, still looks like he hasn't skipped a beat. And so I'm telling you, vote for Trevor Lawrence because he is going to light it up. My question is this. Normally around this time, they're already starting to submit their votes. I don't know if they're holding them in this year or not. I didn't look that up. But we're talking about playing Notre Dame. That's weeks away. Normally, these Heisman votes would be in. And so that's a concern for me, too. Are they going to be turning their votes in before these games even get played? And because we know it's happened. And they're not going to get far into the postseason or even into the playoffs. That ballot's going to be cast already. The show's already going to be made, right? So let us know what you have in the comments for sure. We really appreciate it. Hot topic. I know for sure all Clemson fans out there